All right, how you guys doing today? Daniel here with another video for you. Today we're talking about spark plugs. I'll show you a few things that I've ran across. I've tested all these plugs in the 700 as well as KFX 450 back in the day. Kind of applies to the YFZ 450 too, because they all use the same style plug and the fitments relatively the same. So starting it off, we have your factory plug, your CR8E. Good look at that. This next plug is a real popular option I use for cost. It's a couple dollars more than the CR8E. This is a CR8EK. It has a dual ground electrode and a little bit further protrusion on the center electrode. You can see there. This plug works really well in the 2015 and above engines. My favorite of the group is the CR8 or CR9 EKPA. This is a laser platinum plug. It has dual ground electrode, and they are a more finished end, more like machined end on them. This is a platinum tip plug. Difference between these two, you can see there, a little more refined, a little more finished on the laser platinum plug, as well as that center electrode's a little bit smaller. You don't gap these plugs. They come pretty well gapped. If you measure them with a wire, they're about 40 thousandths. Next plug is the CR8EB9. This comes out of the Kawasaki 450. It does have a fixed tip on it, so you would have to change your spark plug wire to run this in a 700. Now, the difference of this plug versus the factory plug is the extended tip on them. So the ground electrode and the center electrode come out of the plug quite a bit more. We'll talk about why that matters in a little bit. Basically, this plug makes more power than the factory plug. So in terms of making power, I will structure these here in a second to kind of show you what works best, what results I've seen. So here we come back to NGK Iridium CR8EIX. These have a very small piece of iridium on the tip of the electrode, and the ground electrode has it's kind of been tapered to a point as well. These plugs are advertised for making more power. Basically, their biggest benefit is they're not going to wear out, but we're not putting 100,000 miles on a spark plug. So this plug is pretty irrelevant. Guys use it saying, oh, it won't foul out. And what's funny is every one I have come in, these plugs are trashed and fouled out. It's kind of ironic. I don't really care for these. I don't recommend spending the money on them. And lastly, the worst of the bunch is the E3 3.38. This is a terrible plug. They advertise these for fuel efficiency. They say more power, but that is definitely not the case. This is a very poor performing plug. You can see the center electrode barely even comes past the threads, just burying that spark way inside this this huge ground strap covering the whole thing. Hard to get video of this plug because of the coating. Nice cheap Chinese made stuff here. Highly recommend not buy this plug. So it's very well sheltered in there. It has lots of firing points. kind of to their advertisement, this plug has more capability to fire in a engine that is lean and has trouble firing at that point at lower or mid RPM ranges because of so many firing locations that spark could jump to, as well as maybe not quite fouling out so much because it is fairly well sheltered from raw fuel to foul it out. All right, so in terms of power, go worst to best performing. Probably going to be somewhere like this, where you have this E3 way down here. It's really terrible. The factory plug and the iridium there. This one just a bit above your, this is the KFX plug, just a bit above your factory plug. Then we have the EK plug and the EKPA plug are going to be up here. So the difference in spread and power, some guys will say spark plug won't make power. Why they're making power is how efficiently that it can fire and how it works in the head. So now I'm going to show you something of how this plug works in the cylinder head. So first we're going to run a stock plug in the head, and we can check that out, see how it sits in there. Let's do this real quick. Forget how long these plugs are. All right, that'll work. So in the cylinder head, there's this pocket in here that the spark plug sits into. It kind of shelters it from the flow off the intake valve. Now, this is pretty standard setup here. Just tightening in a plug. This washer's already been crushed, so this is pretty much where this plug would stop at. And what you can see is this ground strap pretty much shelters. Imagine a little ball of flame, your initial firing kernel, firing between the electrode and this tip. Well, the rest of this ground strap shelters that. So as that initial spark goes off and how it spreads from its center or origination and spreads outward from there, kind of has a deficiency at this location because it's going to be sheltered. So show you how these other plugs look in here and why I think they work, why I think they're working better in this cylinder head. And the other cylinder heads I've ran these in, they've performed the same. A lot of times they'll take the factory plug out on a very mild build and see another horsepower. A new plug versus new plug. All right, so now we come to this dual ground electrode plug, and you can see that there is nothing in the way if there's the original flame kernel here or spark, coming across from here to here or here to here, that's going to be wide open for that initial flame kernel to travel outward. So there's nothing obstructing that flame travel, and that is the biggest benefit of these spark plugs. So Now that you can kind of see what's going on there, we can go back and put, let's put this extended tip, the KFX 450 plug in here. You can see how it looks. So there's goods and bads to an extended protrusion on a plug. So this plug here does stick out quite a bit more, would be a little bit more susceptible to fouling, but it is also has a clearer area for the that spark kernel to develop in this pocket and move out from there. So only other downside of extended tip ground electrode is they run hotter. So a little bit more concern of detonation, or if you're running nitrous, you have the ability to burn off this ground strap because it will carry more heat. So we don't really run this plug much anymore. It does work well though. Let's see. So the last one we will put in here is this crap E3 plug. And you can see this plug does not perform well at high RPM at all. Now you can see how sheltered, if there's any spark, any kernel building there, you know, each time it fires, it's just extremely sheltered from doing any good. So it's amazing. These plugs are the official plug of the NHRA. Yeah, I guarantee you none of the engines on the track have these in there. That is bizarre that they allow that and that they're supported by that company. Once again, kind of shows that it is just any professional sports. It's all about advertising, not about any integrity. So that being said, just visual differences of how those plugs look, you can kind of imagine what they'll do performance-wise, especially firing at 9,000 RPM, which you're gonna fire, you know, every other revolution. But so at 9,000, you're firing 4,500 times a minute, and we don't have any time to deal with a sheltered spark. So that's why that one, don't recommend it. Iridium's kind of whatever, don't waste your money. The KFX plug works, low cost, stock plug, it's fine, a stock machine. The Laser Platinum, one of my favorites, high cost, they're 15 to 17 bucks, hard to find. And the most popular one I've been using these days is the EK, CR8EK performance benefit at a low cost, normally readily available. A lot of bike shops carry this spark plug where they wouldn't carry this one. This one's out of a, I think it originated from a Cowie 1000. Great high RPM. If you guys are pushing RPM on anything, the better plug, the better power, the better, the smoother the power is made at high RPM. So that's what I have to say about spark plugs. I hope you enjoyed or learned something, maybe seen a new option of what will work, or if your machine doesn't use these range of spark plugs, just know that you can go out and you can cross-reference whatever your plug is going to be if it's got a different thread, you can kind of look for that K plug or the laser platinum plug in that application. So there is options. You just got to cross-reference them and find them. So there you have it. We will talk to you on the next one. Like I said, I have multitudes, hundreds of passes on the dyno testing spark plugs, so I'm not just pulling this information out of my ass or anything. Tested on multiple machines. Use the information as you will, but that's what we run. We're running one of these two plugs, EK, EKPA. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.